Yeah. Because when you watch someone who you know and love, go through what he's going through, it might be too dark, might be too light. They may decide they want to go Hispanic, or they want to go woman, or you may remind the casting director of their brother-in-law.
People wearing dresses. No, it's not.
That is a weird thing.
It's not like that. Look at it from a different way. Look at it. Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully.
Katt Williams just cracked the door wide open on something huge.
Possible that there isn't anything funnier than a guy in a dress.
And now people are finally realizing Malcolm-Jamal Warner was trying to warn us years ago.
Tired of running for shade? And aren't you tired of being hustled and played? And aren't we all tired of crying about how hard it is to be black in America, even if it looks like we've got...
Those old interviews of Malcolm suddenly hit different. All those cryptic words, those side eyes and half-truths, they weren't just harmless chatter.
Never seen Medea in a pantsuit. I think she wears dresses. So now I'm saying, why are we picking on poor little Kevin Hart? Because it was his turn next.
They were clues. Was he hinting at something dark about the industry? About the people surrounding him? Or was it way bigger than that?
Necessary for us to store up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung a million times.
Let's break it down. Katt Williams has been sounding the alarm for years. He's been yelling from the sidelines about what really goes down when a black man in Hollywood hits a certain level. Power, money, and worse, awareness.
I didn't understand that. They had to sting me a million times. I'm still not going to join, but I respect.
They label him crazy, bitter, or washed up. But those wild rants, they were warnings in disguise.
So I know how much they talked about Martin Luther King, and I know what they end up doing to him. I know this same story about Jesus and a few of my...
According to Katt, the moment a black man stops playing the industry's game, he gets punished.
I mean, I always make the right decisions, but I am gonna stand by what I stand for.
Every time, careers vanish, reputations get torched, and he swears it ain't by accident. He believes it's a pattern, a silent takedown, and the higher you go, the more dangerous it gets.
I know that the people that made money off Bernie Mac didn't like him. They hated his guts.
But it doesn't stop there. Williams flat out said there's a secret society. Yeah, the Illuminati. And apparently it's not just some fantasy. According to The Guardian, there's a real good club.
Industry is canceling one black guy. I know what happens when they are going to elevate another. And I know what happens when they don't care about...
A powerful inner circle of billionaire elites. Bill Gates, George Soros, Warren Buffett, Oprah Winfrey, Ted Turner, and more.
There are 300 corporations that are a part of the Will Smith business operation. That is the $20 million a movie mega thing that Will Smith.
Billionaires with reach everywhere. Katt claims this club pulls the strings and warns black entertainers to stay far away. He's seen too much and he's not biting his tongue anymore. Yeah, it might sound wild at first, but Katt ain't just talking to hear himself. He swears he's been through it. For real. And now, he's telling people to listen up, because the game ain't what it seemed. Katt claims he was targeted for years, silenced, dragged, all because he chose to speak up. And he ain't the only one who got hit. He finally had to fall back, not to sell out, but to protect himself. He said all that backlash wasn't random, it was orchestrated. Every time he spoke out, they flipped it on him, turned his truth into ammo. And guess who benefits? According to him, it's the same powerful group he's been warning folks about, the elites. He says they use his reckless image as cover to discredit what he's saying, while they keep pushing their own agenda behind the scenes. But wait, it gets even deeper. Katt straight up said he knew what really went down with Bernie Mac, and he didn't hold back. He said the truth around Bernie's story is one of the industry's biggest secrets. You might not be ready to hear that, especially if you saw Bernie as one of the real ones. Then came the Will Smith slap. Katt said it was a setup. He swears that moment was staged, a global distraction. And here's why that matters. Katt's been in this game. He knows the business. So when he calls it fake, people listen. Because think about it, Will's been in this game for decades. You think he just snapped like that on live TV with the world watching? Katt says no way. That moment had a purpose, and it wasn't just about a joke. He says this is part of a bigger pattern, Hollywood purposely chipping away at strong black men in the spotlight. And he's not the only one who said it. Terrence Howard's been calling it out too. And Denzel? He refused to play racist, degrading roles, even when it could have made him richer. They've seen what this machine does, and they're not playing into it. But the one voice nobody noticed was Malcolm-Jamal Warner. While Katt was yelling, Malcolm was whispering.
Title is combating the narrative of black life, black culture that the media focuses on.
And that whisper, it was heavy. For years, Malcolm was the safe black actor. No mess, no scandals, just clean press and calm interviews. He was America's TV son. But in the last stretch of his life, something changed. He started talking, not about shows or roles, but about systems, about who's really calling the shots in Hollywood, about who gets to tell stories, and who gets erased. And suddenly, people started realizing he'd been dropping truth bombs all along, quietly, but intentionally.
Not all hood. The black community is not a monolith. There's so many levels and lanes to the black community, and we wanted to have a space where we could acknowledge, discuss all of those lanes.
In the final episode of his podcast, Not All Hood, released just 48 hours before his death, Malcolm let it all out. He talked about a conversation with spoken word artist Tamika Georgia, Me Harper. She checked him on the title of the show saying, "Ain't nothing wrong with the hood." And that line hit him.
It's difficult not to, not to feel something, have some kind of emotional response to, what this person is going through.
He realized the media only shows one side of black life, the struggle, the crime, the pain, but it never shows the power, the beauty, the roots. Malcolm wasn't dissing the hood. He was calling out the industry for twisting it. He said it best. The hood side, ultimately, historically, is what has always created American culture.
Feeling is, I feel sad for, just the way this whole, just the way the whole story has come about.
That's not just a cultural fact. That's a mic drop on how black voices get stolen, rebranded, and erased while others profit from the pain.
Such a long path and long journey, you have something like this that you've got to contend with.
And then came his final warning. In one of his last interviews, Malcolm said something that gives people chills now. Black survival in America, that's black excellence. That line wasn't just deep, it was personal.
Because they were tired of me fighting with the writers.
Malcolm was telling us it's not about the awards or flashing on red carpets. It's about making it out with your soul intact. Because when you're black in this industry, survival is the real win. And now, that line cuts even deeper. Just 2 days after dropping that emotional podcast, he was gone. To a whole generation, Malcolm was Theo Huxtable. Funny, sweet, lovable. The guy you grew up watching on The Cosby Show. He was the safe one, the good one, the one who never spiraled. But under that calm surface was a man carrying pain most of us never saw. No drama, no messy headlines, just real quiet strength. He lived through heartbreak. He carried the legacy of a show shattered by Cosby's downfall, but Malcolm never let it destroy him. He didn't crash out. He grew, he reflected, he evolved. He didn't chase clout, he chased truth. And that's what made him dangerous to the system. He wasn't loud like Katt, or rebellious like others. He was subtle, smart, awake, and when he finally decided to speak, it was too real to ignore. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's biggest controversy? It wasn't something he did. It was who he was connected to. The Bill Cosby scandal hit him hard, not just because of the headlines, but because of the deep bond they shared. This wasn't some coworker. Cosby was like family. And when the world turned on Cosby, Malcolm was stuck in the middle, trying to balance loyalty, public pressure, and his own heartbreak. You gotta understand, Cosby changed Malcolm's life. He didn't just cast him as Theo when he was 13. He mentored him. He taught him how to stay humble, stay sharp, and how to think long-term in this industry. Cosby even told him to avoid trendy slang so the show would stay timeless. Years later, watching reruns with his daughter, Malcolm realized Cosby was right. So when the storm hit, when over 50 women accused Cosby of SA, Malcolm didn't know how to react. And when the cameras came for his thoughts, he didn't go off. He didn't run. He gave a real, raw response. "He's one of my mentors," Malcolm said in 2015. "Just as it's painful to hear any woman talk about SA, true or not, it's just as painful to watch my friend and mentor go through this." That line shook people. It wasn't a defense. It wasn't a takedown. It was a man being torn in half. He said, "I can't defend him, but I won't throw him under the bus either." And that honesty hit different. But Malcolm didn't just talk about Cosby. He called out the media too. Said they turned the whole thing into a circus. Said not all the stories were the same and deserved serious thought. He wasn't excusing Cosby. He was calling for truth over spectacle. But the pain ran even deeper. What crushed him most wasn't just the man. It was the legacy. The Cosby Show meant something. It gave America its first mainstream image of a successful, loving black family. It was history, and watching it get erased, that broke him. "We've always had the Cosby Show to hold up against that," he said. "And now we don't. That's what saddens me most." To him, the Huxtables were becoming myth, a fairy tale about a time that once was. And on top of the emotional weight, there was the financial hit too. Malcolm kept it real. He lost money. Syndication was gone. "It's literally taking money out of my pocket," he said. And he pointed out the hypocrisy. Directors like Woody Allen and Roman Polanski, still on TV, still getting praised, but this show wiped out. It wasn't just about Cosby, it was about fairness, about how fast black art gets thrown away, no matter how much good it did. But over time, Malcolm's perspective shifted. One conversation changed everything. With Keisha Knight Pulliam, the actress who played Rudy. She reminded him what the show gave to the world. She told him about the kids who dreamed bigger, applied to college because of Theo and the Huxtables, and that hit him deep. "That really shifted my perspective," he said later. From that point on, he stopped focusing on what was lost and started honoring what was built. That shift showed Malcolm's emotional growth. He went from heartbreak to healing, from silence to purpose. It wasn't easy, but it was real. And maybe that's what's most surprising about Malcolm-Jamal Warner, how steady he stayed through it all. No scandals, no arrests, no breakdowns, just focus, discipline, growth. He didn't fall off like so many child stars. He transformed. When The Cosby Show ended, he didn't cling to Theo. He ran from it. At one point, he even hated being called that, not out of disrespect, but because he knew he was more than that role. He went behind the camera, directing shows like Kenan and Kel. He built a whole new lane as a spoken word artist and Grammy-winning musician. He even won Best Traditional R&B Performance and got a nom for Best Spoken Word Poetry Album. And as an actor, he never played it safe. From sitcoms like Malcolm and Eddie, to dramas like The Resident, Suits, Major Crimes, and even American Crime Story, The People vs. O.J. Simpson. He kept evolving. No box could hold him. His whole career proves something powerful. Staying grounded works. Malcolm didn't chase controversy or fame. He chased meaning. He stayed quiet when others shouted. And that silence, it spoke volumes. But that peace didn't come from nowhere. He credits his mother, Pamela, his manager, his rock. She taught him discipline from day one. Even back in the 80s, Warner was dropping wisdom. His 1988 book, Theo and Me, Growing Up Okay, gave young readers a blueprint to do it right. So no, Malcolm-Jamal Warner's story ain't about a downfall. It's about a blueprint. A black man navigating a brutal industry with his head held high. And even when the storm came knocking, he didn't fold. He stood tall, quietly, but powerfully. See, Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't chasing clout. He was dropping game. From the jump, he was giving young fans advice on how to stay solid and avoid the traps. His early book wasn't about flexing fame. It was about accountability. That's why he stayed scandal-free. He watched others crash and burn, and made damn sure he didn't follow them off that cliff. And the proof's all in the work. Yeah, his first book rode off the Cosby Show wave, but he grew way beyond that. His Grammy-nominated spoken word album, Hiding in Plain View, pure truth. His 2017 short film, You Can't Hear Me, it tackled real pain, racism, mass incarceration, deportation. These weren't just projects, they were statements. He moved with purpose, and that came straight from his roots. His father made him study black thinkers like Langston Hughes, long before the red carpets and cameras. Malcolm didn't just age, he evolved. His path from teen star to real artist wasn't luck, it was intention. He didn't let fame shape him. He flipped the script and defined himself on his own terms. But even with all that success, Warner faced quiet pain behind the scenes. One of the deepest wounds came from the loss of someone close, Michelle Thomas. She played Justine, Theo's girlfriend on The Cosby Show, but off camera, they were even closer. Even after their breakup in '94, they stayed tight. And when Michelle was diagnosed with aggressive stomach cancer, Malcolm stayed by her side. She passed in '98 at just 30 years old, and he was there when she took her last breath. That kind of heartbreak, it leaves a permanent mark. He never made it a headline. He just carried it with grace. And maybe that's where his calm, grounded energy really came from. Quiet loss, real-life pain. And that's exactly what Katt Williams has been yelling about for years. The moment a black entertainer stops playing the game, boom, the industry flips. Labels you crazy, makes you disappear. Katt's been calling it out. Loud, unfiltered, and raw. You can only go so far before they remind you who owns the table. That's what he said. And now, it's hitting different. Malcolm wasn't screaming like Katt, he was whispering, but he saw it too. And then, just like that, he was gone. No media coverage, no tributes, no Hollywood pause, just silence. Chilling, empty silence. Like his death wasn't just ignored, it was deliberately erased, as if someone didn't want us to stop and think, didn't want us connecting the dots. Because when you really look at it, when you put Katt's warnings next to Malcolm's last podcast, it's right there. This wasn't random. It was calculated. And now that Katt dropped this new footage, people are finally starting to wake up. This ain't just another celebrity scandal. This is about a system that props up black men when they're useful, but turns on them the second they stop being silent. They couldn't silence Katt. He was too loud. But Malcolm, he was the threat they didn't see coming. Calm, careful, but still resisting. Still leaving a trail of breadcrumbs before he vanished. And now those breadcrumbs are looking like warnings. Like truth bombs we weren't ready to hear. Until now. Malcolm didn't want fame. He wanted freedom. And Katt? He just set the whole trap on fire. So the real question is, why are people only listening now? And who else tried to tell us before it was too late? If you felt this, drop a comment, like, subscribe. Don't let this story die in silence. We've got more to expose. Catch you on the next one.